You think you've got my number figured out? A motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. I wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
folks. Hello, welcome everybody. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday. It is Friday Junior, folks. Look at that. It's practically the weekend. It is practically the weekend. Welcome everybody. Michael Hasser, Mouselander, Quad Bennett, Heat, how's it going? Derry Bennett, welcome. Sorry about that, folks. It looks like my technical woes are not going away anytime soon. Okay. Yeah, government shutdown. That's I'll bum myself up. Government shutdown seems to be imminent because President Elongated Muskrat has deemed it so. Yes, that is something we're going to be probably talking about. All right, folks. It is the last. Is it the last Thursday of the year? Is that it? No, second to last Thursday, because next Thursday there will be a stream. The year's almost over, folks. So it's holiday it's holiday mood right now. Trump and Elon fired Johnson for what? Oh my goodness. Getting last minute gifts now. No? All right, folks. Before we get started, make sure if you want to support the channel, make sure that you are hitting that like button on the YouTube. Make sure you're following us here on Twitch. And make sure you join the Discord, folks. This Saturday, about 6 p.m., we will be streaming the Michael Moore documentary Sicko. It is a very good documentary that I think, even though it's pre-Obamacare, even though it is pre-Obamacare, I think that it is still highly relevant as to the cruelty and just predatory nature of the healthcare industry. So that is something that I think if you haven't seen it and you want to watch it, we will be streaming it on the Discord, or if you want to watch it on your own. The documentary is free. It's on YouTube. So if you want to watch it on your own, you can. It's on YouTube. I highly recommend it. Just be aware that some of the stories are pretty rough. Pretty rough. Yes, the Substack. Folks, subscribe to the Substack. It's pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. Subscribe to the Substack. It's completely free and will be free. . All right, folks, let's get started. Amazon workers are possibly about to go on strike. When the strike is going to happen, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a thing. It's happening.
Deals now on Amazon.
Every package we deliver with pain and suffering.
This is my third holiday I'm giving to Amazon. I haven't been around for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
It's constant speed up for the holidays.
It's like twice as dangerous, I would say, because everyone's moving twice as fast and there's twice as much work.
Every horror story you read about Amazon is true, but worse. And that is why I voted yes for the strike.
Workers at the only unionized Amazon warehouse are going on strike during the company's busiest season.
Ultimately, Amazon only speaks one language, and that's money. We're going to hit them where it hurts until they decide it's time to come to the table.
Workers with the ALU plan to strike the JFK 8 facility on Staten Island later in December.
We can't wait anymore.
We're not joking around here.
Right now, it is peak season at Amazon. It's Amazon's most profitable time of year.
Well, it's pretty typical of Amazon to call mandatory overtime every holiday season.
They've been asking for us to work 11 and a half hour days, 5 days a week.
With the lunch break, it's a 12-hour and 30-minute shift, so you're there majority of the day, majority of the week.
Nah, fam, I can't do that. This is like beyond. This is cruel. I support them. I don't need my stuff on the 25th. Yeah, honestly, like at least for me personally, I'm completely like on board with that. Look, fam, I don't need my stuff like next day delivery. To be quite frank, I'm okay. I'm okay if it takes a couple days.
They have no right to demand that of their workers when they could fulfill those same roles with voluntary extra time and surge pay for the workers that want to take it on.
Workers say peak season exacerbates existing safety issues.
It's extremely chaotic, especially at that time.
Also, like, man, like, you know, this is a this might be a controversial opinion, but workers are people too, and I think this is just cruel to make them work overtime, for companies to make people work overtime during holidays and things like that. Especially, like, it doesn't matter, man. Like, seriously, like it doesn't. It's not that serious, okay? And if you need something by a certain date, then like I don't know, man. Like plan for it. Remember, everyone, free returns aren't actually free, so take a minute before sending stuff back. True. Workers are people too? Reported. Welcome, Fomashina.
Management is really looking to push numbers. That means cutting a lot of corners, bending the rules, pushing conditions that are unsafe.
I mean, a lot of times the conveyor belts get backed up, so you're packing boxes, but you can't even put them on the conveyor belt. You're forced to build up stacks of boxes around you. There's no room on the floor to walk. Yeah, just safety hazards everywhere.
Despite employing only 36% of warehouse workers in 2022, Amazon was responsible for 53% of all injuries in the warehouse industry.
Amazon is fine to let people die in the wake of tornadoes and any kind of natural disaster.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I wonder if like Amazon ever is going to suffer any consequences for that, because last time I checked, I mean, like, what's going to happen to Amazon over this? Probably not much, I imagine.
For their profits. And we, as Amazon workers, know what we deserve. And we're not going to take it anymore.
Workers at the JFK 8 Amazon warehouse on Staten Island voted to unionize in 2022. but they still don't have a contract.
Amazon is pretending like it never happened.
Their stance is we don't exist.
And they ignore everything from the NLRB.
And right now they're in federal court arguing that unions are unconstitutional.
Amazon is one of the wealthiest companies in the world. They can keep us in court for the rest of time.
She decided to sneak in.
The only thing that will get them to negotiate a union contract with us is impacting their bottom line.
We've pledged several hundred workers so far to participate, and we're still working and organizing and building up our structure in JFK so we can hopefully mobilize a lot more and really impact productions this year.
Trying to show Amazon we're fed up, we're done.
A lot of us don't want to go on strike. You know, we want to work, but we want to work for fair wages. We want to work for at least $30 an hour. We want to get adequate breaks so that we're not getting injured all the time. We want to be able to go to the bathroom and drink water without getting written up.
That's just crazy. Amazon also commonly hires local cops to jam up unions. Yeah, that tracks.
And if we have to go on strike to make Amazon come to the table and give us the respect that we deserve, then we're going to do it.
Godspeed. Yes, we have been blessed. We have been blessed by the vaquita. Do it. So by the way, I need to correct the record on something. The story that we talked about the other day, about Breonna Boston, who was arrested for making threatening messages, which of course the threatening messages in question were like 5 words. Apparently I was incorrect about her charges being dropped. That was a misunderstanding on my end, thinking that I must have seen it somewhere. But unfortunately, I should have known better because it's Florida. To be honest, I should have known better because it's Florida. But apparently they really want to prosecute her. And as far as I can tell, when I just kind of double checked as of a couple days ago, it seems like she is still going to be prosecuted for this. And at the end of the day, I mean, like, even if she somehow manages to pull through on all of this, I mean, like, the financial devastation is pretty freaking bad. Just her bail bail bonds alone was $10,000 because her bail was at $100,000. I mean, like, it's just absurd that they are prosecuting someone for this. I mean, I still stand by the fact that I don't believe she actually committed a crime. I don't see. I just don't see how that would hold up. There's worse on Xbox Live voice chats than what she than what she said in that call. So I mean, like, I don't know, man. It just seems so dystopic. It's okay. Thanks for the follow up. Yes. You know, if I get something wrong, it's so if I get something wrong and I find out about it and I become aware of it, I'm going to let you guys know. So yeah. Florida, indeed. Pick your states carefully, folks. So if anything ends up happening with this, we'll keep up, because I think this is an important story, especially pertaining to free speech issues, actual free speech issues. But when there's any more developments on this story, we'll keep an eye out. This was how the Publix warehouse was. So their warehouse are like giant stores, normally about 4 football fields wide. Huge aisles. You have to drive your pallet trucks through to fill orders for stores. They calculate your order based on mapping out where everything is in the warehouse. So they might say this order should take 20 minutes. They expect you to perform 30% better than 100%. So a perfect condition 20-minute order, they expect to be done in 16. That's wild. And so you ask, how can someone really do that? That's impossible. How do people do it? Do the order off the clock or on your break, right? So yeah, no, that's super messed up. And without a union, that's wild. Nope. Yeah, it was a knee jerk, and her lawyers are going to sort it out, I think. I hope so. I really do, because like this is so absurd. That I just don't see it. I just don't see it, folks. But it is Florida, so, you know. Which I think is a perfect segue to talk about this. This is actually pretty interesting, because I would never expect mainstream news, and like particularly CNN, to host an actual communist and have a discussion regarding this whole incident between like the healthcare issue, Luigi Mangione and whatnot. So I mean, it's not often that you see this happen. So it does kind of grab attention when you do see it.
Mass resistance to medical debt. If everybody burns their medical bills in front of the health insurance company offices en masse, that's going to create change.
Boy, do I have a lot to say about this discussion. So Chris Cuomo of News Nation had on Jamie Peck for a lively discussion about for-profit healthcare and Luigi Mangione. Now, Peck is a self-described communist and host of the Party Girls podcast, and also formerly of the Majority Report, and is introduced here on News Nation as a spokesperson for the Luigi Mangione Defense Fund. Speaking of this fundraising that is going on, now I want to be clear, it's not clear to me whether or not Jamie actually set this up. Whoever set it up is anonymous, but she is speaking on behalf of them here, and they have raised over $150,000. The goal is $500,000. To be clear, they go on to write as well This is a preemptive legal fundraiser for the suspect allegedly involved in the shooting of the United Healthcare CEO. We are not here to celebrate violence, but we do believe in the constitutional right of fair legal representation. So I'm not clear whether or not this was set up before it was known that Luigi Mangione can clearly pay for his own lawyer. So again, it's not clear to me where the money's actually going to go. I don't think it sounds like they're not going to accept it from what I'm reading. But regardless, I want to get to the first clip here, and I got a lot to say about what this means, just in terms of the discourse around what is going on right now in terms of healthcare, but also the discourse around what the left actually is.
Help me understand. Why is it a beautiful thing? Why do you support him assassinating another human being in cold blood?
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that, like, she probably didn't do that. But okay.
So I was definitely joking a little bit, obviously drawing a comparison between what Donald Trump said about himself and the sort of explosion, this appetite, this excitement for the conversation that Luigi Mangione started. But I do think to call this an act of terrorism is an insult to the intelligence of the American people. Terrorism is something designed.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think that this is. I don't see terrorism charges really sticking, and like maybe by the New York prosecutor, I guess, trying to stretch themselves too thin may undermine their own case, because like this is not a case of terrorism as far as I'm aware, and you know, by I don't know if exaggerating is the right word, is the right technical term, but for colloquially, just to use, you know, to keep it colloquially, the DA or the prosecutor exaggerating these, using these more exaggerated charges like first-degree murder, which in New York is a specific, it's its own thing, or try to charge him with terrorism, it may end up undermining their own case. So you know what? It is what it is. She used to be on TMR. Exactly. Yes, she used to be on the Majority Report as a host. I say let them overcharge so it gets dropped. Right, that's exactly it. If you're just like trying to throw everything at the wall and hoping something sticks, it just feels like maybe you know, it kind of undermines the argument here, because remember, when you're trying to make the case, this is like life or death, basically. New York doesn't have a death penalty, but we're talking about potentially life in prison. It's beyond a reasonable doubt, or beyond a reasonable doubt. So you better come correct. You better come correct. Kyle Rittenhour was terrorism.
To strike fear into the hearts of non-combatant civilians, right? The general population. Nobody but a tiny class of CEOs has been made to live in fear by Luigi's actions, but nearly everybody knows what it's like to live in fear of having a necessary medical claim denied, the fear of having your life ruined or potentially ended by a stack of medical bills.
Yep.
And I think in a system with so much violence that's directed from the top down, it should come as no surprise when violence begins to boomerang back from the bottom up onto the 1%. Also, I would like to remind you, on the subject of terrorism, nearly 3,000 Americans lost their lives on 9/11, right? This is the largest terrorist attack this
but who will protect the 0.5%
country has ever seen? An estimated 190,000 people are murdered each year by our broken healthcare system.
Looking for a few holiday gift ideas?
Nope.
How about over $13,000 off on a new 2025 Ram 1500?
That is the
I don't need a I don't need a truck. Thank you. But yeah, I think this is the conversation. This is exactly the type of framing that needs to happen, right? Because, like, you know, first of all, Americans have this like propaganda trigger, right? When they hear 9/11, that activates the median average American. Okay. And to say, you know, like, hey, if you thought like 9/11 was bad, and it was, how about like X times that, you know, happening legally, by the way, legally, because these health insurance companies thrive on making sure that you don't get the health care you need, and inevitably a percentage of those people are going to die because they don't get the health care that they need. They don't get the procedure in time because of the back and forth. Their condition becomes at that point terminal. Or, for example, if you're fighting back and forth to get medications that you need, and you don't get those medications, like, for example, insulin, or because it's too expensive, and you start rationing, a person could eventually get severely sick or die. So yes, these people are murderers. These CEOs who make these conscious decisions, who make these conscious decisions to rubber stamp policies in their companies that deny healthcare to people, and inevitably some of those people are going to die. These are conscious decisions. These are social murderers. So these people are the real villains in this whole entire story. These people are the real villains in this story. To push someone who was pretty well off. I mean, like, what does that say when you what does that say when you see a story about someone who's pretty wealthy, pretty well off, being pushed to the edge because of this industry? Did I find the reality channel? Yeah, you did. Welcome in.
The equivalent of 52 9/11s worth of deaths every year.
Yeah, and like that's the only way like you're gonna really like make like the average median American understand. Like, yeah, if you tell the average like American, like, yeah, 52 9/11s, okay, that's what these people are doing. Like that kind of conceptualizes that a lot easier, right? Because I mean, like, we don't really see it. Not really. It's not in our news every day. Oh, this month 1,000-something people died because of lack of healthcare. Oh, in quarter 4, 5,000 people died because they couldn't access the care that they need. No, you hear about how much United healthcare stock went up by the third quarter. That's what you hear about. You'll see that on the news. But you won't see that. You won't see the amount of people that are killed by the healthcare industry. Damn, in America, we only recognize measurements like number of 9/11s and Ford F-150s in length. Unironically, like I think, and football field lengths, exactly. Unironically, I think that approach by Jamie Peck was pretty good. Was pretty good because, you know, she's not talking to us. We already know. We already know this information. So good job. Nice. I like that approach.
Every single week, another 9/11 happens. So I got to ask, who is the more prolific terrorist in this equation?
All right, I'm going to get to Chris's response, but before we even get to anything, even Jamie's points here, I want to just discuss what something like this means. Having this conversation on a television program, what this means generally. So first, credit to Jamie for being willing to go on and face potential, blowback online for making this appearance. And also credit to Chris Cuomo for inviting her on. This is where we get to how important conversations like this are. Even if you think Jamie goes too far in, advocating for this legal defense fund, this conversation is beneficial to a media discourse. People for a long time now have this idea that the left is about, woke scolding, and it's about hyper reactions online to you saying something improperly or making a mistake and people freaking out over it, when that's not what it's about. The left is simply about human rights and freedom from oppression. And you have neither when corporations dominate a very basic need, such as healthcare. So this conversation, I think, helps pull people back away from a far-right discourse that has been, really dominating for not just since Trump, but forever. There has been this domination of corporate politics, of capitalist politics, has been the dominating discourse.
Yeah, I think that's really the focus there. That framing of like that framing of making sure that you're pointing the finger at the capitalist class, whether you refer to it as the capitalist class or not, it doesn't really matter. But the point being is the conversation needs to continue to happen, right? Like, we need to be front and center of this and say, like, look, it is the capital class. These oligarchs who own an incomprehensible amount of money, an absurd amount of money, are using that wealth and that power and that influence to continue to make your life miserable. Okay, that is how they are. That is how they remain in these positions of power. They didn't get there by magic. They got there by exploitation, and that needs to be hammered over and over and over again. If we can get the conversation about how exploitative a for-profit system can be, then, like, it's, using this healthcare thing as like the perfect example, then we can extrapolate that and continue to talk about the exploitative nature of capitalism and how this applies to other places, not just healthcare.
Of course, in mainstream press, for the obvious reason that these are run.
Like, for example, just taking the Amazon, just taking the Amazon story that we just went to, where workers are concerned about safety reasons. Amazon kills people by making conscious policy decisions about how much they're supposed to be working, how many hours, which, again, exhausted employees are a safety risk. If you're tired and you've been on the floor for 12 hours, 7 days a week or whatever, or however the schedule is made out, you're going to have exhausted employees, and that is that is rife for a safety concern. Media pushes: be afraid of your neighbor, be afraid of brown people, be afraid of China, be afraid of late leftists, be afraid of centrists, be afraid of vaccines, be afraid of smart people, be afraid of your own shadow. It's no effing wonder the average person can't form half a coherent thought about their own interest. Exactly. A lot of us are too busy just trying to make it through the day, A lot of us are too busy just trying to make it through that said 12-hour shift. No time to be thinking about how this, how we can make a difference or how we can unite together.
By capitalist organizations. So there's going to be a certain slant when it comes to simply the hiring process or who you invite on. How often do you see a communist invited onto a news network? I can't even think of another example. Maybe at some point it's happened over the past decade or so, but I haven't seen one. So this is the first time I've seen this. this is completely beneficial to just having to pull, or the need to pull the conversation back towards a place that is a little more sane. That isn't to say, there are people that are going to be like, oh, but isn't this just going to turn people off of the left, seeing someone like Jamie here, advocating for raising money for Luigi Mangione?
Don't be afraid of guns, though. We're good. Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing you can't be afraid of.
But ask yourself, has that hurt Trump? Think of all the focus on Trump and Trump's cult and far-right politics. Has that hurt him? Has that hurt the Republican Party?
Not really, but we're operating on different planes of fields. We're operating on different planes here, right? Because if Trump goes out, I mean, literally, I'll just go back to the same quote. I could literally shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't lose any votes. So we're operating on different planes here, where Trump can literally say whatever, do whatever. It doesn't matter. The Republican Party will follow through because the base follows through. That's it. That's where it begins and ends. As far as Trump goes, that rule does not apply. That thought process does not apply for the left, because if you go as I would like to think that if you go out as a left winger or left leaning person and start espousing some nonsensical stuff, I don't know, if you start as a leftist making arguments for flat earth or something, right, you're going to be immediately called out, right? Nobody's going to look at you and go oh yeah, we just need to coalesce, because no, man, that's not how that works. We're operating on two different planes. Now, I think maybe what David is trying to say is that we shouldn't be as afraid to be bold and speak and speak, especially on cable news, if we have the opportunity, right? Jamie Peck took that opportunity, but just I don't know, just a thought. I don't think that we operate on the same planes. So saying so being as ridiculous and absurd and as divorced from reality like Trump, that wouldn't work here, right? That would not work here, because people would rightfully call you out, or I would like to think that people would rightfully call you out if you start just espousing nonsense.
Clearly, it hasn't. What's ended up happening is, by dominating the news cycle, you have people conditioned to thinking in terms of right-wing framing. Even if they don't agree with Trump and far-right politics, whatever is a little more to the left of that, mainstream conservative politics, appears to them to be a little more sane because, oh, well, at least they're not the crazy Trump cult. But when you have someone like Jamie on, and more people like this, more communist socialists in a mainstream discussion, it helps to pull discourse back towards the actual center. Because right now, all of political discourse is just drenched in far-right and capitalist politics. And the anger at for-profit healthcare is real. Anger at how much wealth is concentrated at the top in the hands of a few is real. And getting people to know that broadly, that's what the left is angry about, I think, is a positive thing. Now, and I think, before I get to the next clip here on what Jamie was discussing, I mean, there's...
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the center of it, right? The center of the left-wing concept is that it is, there's a ever shrinking minority of people that are concentrating wealth that is just obscene, to the point where they control politics in a way that benefits them. And this is no longer a democracy in the traditional sense. It's just an oligarchy or oligopoly or plutocracy, whatever. And just look at a certain leftist news network that's getting hammered in leftist circles everywhere. Right, exactly. Like you start espousing nonsense like that, and you're gonna get called out. It's true. You're gonna get called out. Exactly. That's a perfect example. Right there. You start doing stuff like a certain recent network that claims to be on a more left-leaning or left-friendly space, and it turns out that you're espousing nonsense. It doesn't matter. You're gonna get called out. It doesn't matter. You're gonna get called out by all your peers because that's what you should do, right? Like, I don't know if you're, it just makes sense because, like, if not, then what are we doing here? We might as well just be another cult. We might as well just be another cult.
I think there's no doubt that what Luigi Mangione did, allegedly did, is a violent and illegal act. But what for-profit health insurance does by putting people in situations where they're denied claims is also a violent act. But it's a legally violent act. I think that's the clear distinction there. Both acts are violent, but one is illegal, one is illegal. And I think Jamie here is trying to highlight that, how insane it is that we just all accept, that Americans accept that for-profit healthcare is normal, and it's perfectly normal for people to be denied healthcare and then die.
Yeah.
When that should not be normal. So it isn't just Jamie who's questioning, by the way, the terrorism charge. Here's a quick clip from MSNBC, also questioning the charge of terrorism.
I'm just questioning the terrorism charge because I start to worry that you get into a slippery slope by using the terrorism charge.
You can send your tithes to my house at 111 Give Me Money Lane. That's so funny.
Potentially using it in this way, and maybe I'm wrong, but it's just something that piqued my interest.
Yeah, and it piques my interest too. Particularly, you and I were discussing during the press conference that not only is it a slippery slope with respect to the use of the terrorism charge, but the very use of certain evidence in this case is itself reflective to some of the existence of a police state. For example,
so much surveillance
all the
video.
electronic surveillance that's been involved.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is also a great conversation. I really didn't consider that because that's kind of just like, I like, that's just kind of like the default, right? Like, we know that this is a police state with heavy surveillance, heavy electronic surveillance, and that just kind of like is kind of in the background. That's actually a very good point to bring it to the front because yeah, I mean, that's just kind of like how we operate by default, right? Like, yeah, we just kind of just accept that that's the default state. There's heavy electronic surveillance. There is a police state. Yeah, that's kind of just a default. It's just kind of normal.
Is itself something that concerns many civil libertarians.
Yeah.
And so you're right to say that this is a concern, and I'll be very curious to see how they attempt to persuade a jury, particularly a Manhattan jury, where Luigi Mangione may have taken on folk hero status already, that he intended this act not only to kill Brian Thompson himself, but to intimidate others in the course of conducting
And just
that
a
killing.
question.
MSNBC's Katie Tur and her guest there also openly questioning the application of the terrorism charge in this case. But Chris Cuomo has a bit of a different perspective. So here's his reaction to Jamie's response at the beginning, as well as Cuomo says something at the end here that I take a little issue with.
Well,
Absolutely, no. Anything that I say or type will be recorded by some device. Yeah, it's just like yeah, we know. Yeah, we know. Like, you know how people make jokes about like whispering things in their significant other's phone so they get ads for whatever they want for Christmas or something. Yeah, it's kind of like that subconscious, like, okay, we know that all these things are very creepily listening to what we say and what we type.
First of all, as you may know, Jamie, terrorism is a specific legal standard, right? There's no question that Luigi did what he did in furtherance of a political agenda. He said it, okay? So I don't see this as a question of fact or law. It's about the policy behind it. What I don't understand, and you are somebody who in your positions is constantly trying to embrace the humanity of situations, right? I've been looking at why you support what you do with what's happening in the Middle East conflict. To me, this seems to be anathema to this. Nothing within a system gets changed by violence.
Wait a minute. Hold up. 1 second. That was profoundly and ridiculous and unnecessarily, like, that was just ignorant. Like, come on, man. Is someone gonna tell him? I wonder. Hey Siri, Google how the United States happened. Google what happened in 17 something. What was it? When was the French Revolution? Hey Siri, Google what happened in France 1789, okay? She's polite not to just start cackling at him. Like, that was completely like an unnecessary own goal, man. Like, come on, dude. You can't be serious by saying that. 1789, gotcha. You can't be serious, man. Like, that was just some like, I don't know if you just wasn't thinking in the moment, but like, come on, man. I need a sound drop on that one.
The humanity of situations, right? I've been looking at why you support what you do with what's happening in the Middle East conflict. To me, this seems to be anathema to this. Nothing within a system gets changed by violence.
All right. The French Revolution.
Yeah.
The Boston Tea Party. The American Revolutionary War. Stonewall riots. All violent acts that led to big changes. Now, you can both condemn and discourage violent acts, and I do.
Yeah, it lasted 10 years.
While also understanding
it's like basic history, like, oh, well, not changing, violence doesn't change the system. Yeah, how do you think, like, the monarchy got overthrown? By asking nicely? You all know what happened to Mary Antoinette, right? Like, I don't know. That was just a silly freaking statement to say.
That violence has played in history against oppressors for the oppressed. And it's always been a reaction to what is already happening to a group of people. It doesn't...
Yeah, like the Haitian Revolution against the slavers. The Cuban Revolution.
Doesn't come out of nowhere. There is historical context for why people act out when they feel like they are being oppressed or people that they represent are being oppressed. And he also attempts there to call Jamie a hypocrite by analogizing Jamie's condemnation of Israel's mass atrocities against Palestinians to what her reaction should be to Luigi.
Right, exactly. I'm sure we could have just asked Adolf to stop. Yeah. Diplomacy.
Mangione, which I find to be bizarre because Jamie's support for Palestinian human rights is born out of the oppression of Palestinians at the hand of the Israeli government, which is why Jamie and others are using this moment to speak on the oppression that normal people are facing under a for-profit healthcare system. So I don't think Jamie's being a hypocrite here. I think she's being consistent. But Chris Cuomo is pulling the whole element of power and who is oppressed, who's the oppressor out of this equation, which doesn't make any sense in the context of what the discussions actually are. Let me get now to the last clip.
I want you to understand that I don't think that the energy that you're putting towards backing this guy is getting us to a better place with the problems of the system. That's my point to you. Use the money you raised for the people who need it, not this guy.
Well, the problem is that the system exists. The problem fundamentally is that the system exists in the first place. Like, excuse you. Okay. The problem is that the system exists in the first place, right? Unless that money is going to give us universal health care, like it's not really I don't think that's really relevant. Let's just smoke a doob and talk it out. That's how the world should be, you know? I wish the world was like that.
Well, I believe we really need to treat the causes of problems rather than merely the symptoms. And I think if you want to know what kinds of tactics I do advocate for, I think we need a mass movement.
Yeah, and I think that yeah, the problem is like Cuomo is having I don't know if it's just because he himself is wealthy or if he's just doing his part to protect capital, but Cuomo's job is to try to make the case that actually, you know, there's nothing really wrong with the system inherently. We can just fix what you think is bad, and like that's not how that works. The entire thing needs to go. The entire for-profit healthcare system needs to go. There's no fixing that, because it just can't. If you try to do things here and there, like yeah, things will improve a little bit, but ultimately you can't have a system that you can't have a for-profit system and it function well. Because at the end of the day, it's meant to generate profit. And that's the problem.
You know, change comes from the bottom up,
but not a bunch of
the top
Luigis.
Down. And I'm talking about mass resistance to medical debt. If everybody burns their medical bills in front of the health insurance company offices en masse, that's going to create change. And we're just trying to figure out how to use this moment of of popular excitement that has been touched off by, yes, a violent act that I would not advocate for as a tactic if it were up to me, but it happened. And we're trying to figure out how to ride that wave and move this conversation forward into mass action that can really make a difference.
Well, listen, I'm here for it.
I wish that would do something, right? Like if we all tore up our medical bills and stopped paying, like I don't know, would we all just end up like getting screwed? Because like, you know, I don't know.
I always have been, but we're covering it. I would love for that to be the discussion. But as long as this guy is glamorized, it is a distraction.
All right.
Well, I think by him making I think by him like making it more about Luigi, it's kind of like the tell. Dude, I the whole point of this is to highlight the issues with the for-profit system for healthcare. And Kitty. Go on, cat. Go on. I wonder what would happen if everyone called and read a script of what mother said to their insurance, of what that mother said to their insurance company, not saying to do it. Yeah, I mean, like, there's enough cops. I don't know about all of us, but free Mario though.
Jamie has already succeeded because in that clip you see Chris Cuomo appears to be open to the idea of mass resistance to medical debt, of burning your medical bills, not paying them off on a mass scale. This is something that I feel like he would not be so open to if the discussion didn't start from, why are you raising money for this alleged assassin? But because that's where the conversation began, all of a sudden when you bring things a little more to, the center of that, then it appears more reasonable. This is why these sorts of discussions are so important. Having communists, socialists on.
You need a bed up there in view of the camera. Yeah. Or get like a separate kitty cam. This is like when George Floyd got killed. I had this libertarian sit there and be like, well, George was no stunt. You shouldn't be using him as a hero. Cop sat on his face for 10 minutes. Well, yeah, but George... Yeah, like, that's the thing, though. Like, these clowns, man, I'm telling you. Like, saying no problem with how a cop can kill you. It doesn't matter what you did. Not really. That was never the point. Like... It's just the fact that he killed him, and honestly, if it wasn't for the video footage that this one person was taking with the cell phone and the public outrage, that dude would probably have gotten away with it. He's had a history of violence and whatnot, but yeah. One second, folks.
News networks are so important because it helps to move the conversation. So great job here from Jamie. And again, credit to Chris Cuomo for willing to have an honest conversation here. He has a disagreement and he's voicing it, but he's not doing it in a way where he's shouting her down or not hearing her out. He's willing to let her talk. He's allowing her to speak and make her points. And credit to him for doing that. There are very few people that are willing to have honest conversations with communists like Jamie Peck, but Chris Cuomo did. So I think all around, great segment. You can check out the full thing below the video. I'll link to it in the description box under sources.
It's also possible that cop wouldn't have killed George Floyd if he wasn't being filmed and he thought he'd be immune. And if you watched the clip, he was doing it to piss everyone off around him who was saying to get off his neck. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Unfortunately, it happened. Oh boy. President Biden pledges to cut U.S. greenhouse gases by more than 60% as he is going to no longer be president and a climate change denier is going to be president. All right. President Biden is pledging to cut the U.S. greenhouse gas emissions by more than 60% by 2035 as he fights to ensure his legacy on slowing global warming, even as President-elect Trump vows to undo much of Biden's climate work when he takes office. So, yeah, I don't know where we're going to get this. where we're gonna get this from, but Biden said the new goal, which supersedes a previous plan to cut carbon emissions at least by half by 2030, keeps the United States on track to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, Kat, come on. Ugh. She's being a little feisty today. Okay. Anywho. The U.S. is making a formal submission of the new target known as the Nationally Determined Contribution to the United Nations under the terms of the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement, Biden said today. The new goal calls for reducing net emissions by 61% to 66 below 2005 levels in 2035. I'm proud that my administration is not going to be able to do any of this because as soon as Trump comes into office, none of this is happening. Let me just tell you that right now. I'm proud that my administration is carrying out the boldest climate agenda in American history, said Biden in a videotape statement as, again, Trump is set to take office in a couple weeks, a month. I mean, like this is if he would have just started talking about this like years ago, making this plan like years ago, then like maybe some things are more difficult to reverse once they get started. But like, I mean, it's almost like, I'm not saying don't do it, but like, it's almost like, what's the point, man? We're doing it by setting ambitious goals, such as deploying 30 gigawatts of offshore wind and conserving at least 30% of U.S. lands and water by 2030. Biden said his administration has also set strict new standards to cut air pollution from cars, trucks, and power plants and signed into law the most significant investment in climate and clean energy. So, yeah, like these are just all things that are going to go away in a month. The action by the Democratic president comes just over a month before he is set to leave office. Trump has already promised to unleash a series of executive actions that will seek to undo most or all of Biden's climate agenda as the Republican president-elect pushes for energy dominance around the globe. Trump no longer dismisses climate change as a hoax, but has pledged to dismantle what he calls the Democrats' Green New Scam, never happened, in favor of boosting production of fossil fuels such as oil, natural gas, and coal, which are one of the main causes of climate change. Trump is expected to withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord as he did in his first term and will likely move to repeal parts of the Inflation Reduction Act, especially subsidies that benefit electric vehicles and offshore wind. So, cool. Biden aides tried to downplay the impact of Trump's return to the White House, insisting that states and local governments can continue to lead on clean energy. Yeah, and like that's kind of like the whole conversation that we were having yesterday, right? That's exactly the entire conversation that we were having yesterday. Because like, man, don't piss on our leg and tell us it's raining, dude. We know, man. We know that in a month, Trump's gonna come in and dismember any type of regulations that you want to put now or have put in the past. We know that he said so. So the action that the federal government supposedly is taking is kind of almost meaningless. The simulacra welcome. They broke records for oil and gas production during the Biden presidency. Yep. American climate leadership is determined by so much than whoever sits in the Oval Office, said John Podesta. Well, thanks, man. That's inspiring a whole lot of confidence. Like, man, as I was saying yesterday, like, yeah, it's just cooked, folks. You have to just focus on the local level. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that matters at this time. Considering what's coming. Climate leadership happens on the ground in our cities and states, from Phoenix to Pittsburgh, from Boise to Baltimore, Podesta told reporters on Wednesday. And I believe with this new 2035 target as their North Star, leaders across America can show the world that we're still in this fight for a better future. Whatever, dude. I'm sorry if I don't buy the platitudes, and I'm sorry if, like, the supposed federal government action is basically hope that the local governments take the mantle. Zero support. Phenomenal. Trump spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt said that in his first term, Trump produced affordable, reliable energy for consumers, along with stable, high-paying jobs for small businesses, all while dropping U.S. carbon emissions to their lowest in 25 years. In his second term, President Trump will once again deliver clean air and water for American families while making America wealthy again. Sure. While carbon emissions dropped around the world in 2020, a little something happened. A little something that you may or may not have remembered happened in 2020, late 2019, 2020. Just a small thing that happened that just upended the entire world, which is, as the simulacra points out, COVID. They're about to mention it. While carbon emissions dropped around the world in 2020, it was largely due to the economic shutdown caused by COVID. Air travel and other activity came to a near standstill. The U.S. Climate Alliance, a bipartisan coalition of governors that support climate action, pledged to work toward the new target with or without help from the White House. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, the alliance's co-chair, said climate-conscious governors will carry the torch forward after Biden leaves office. Hochul, Democrats, said governors will use the new U.S. goal to keep America on track towards a cleaner and safer future. By continuing to stamp out climate pollution together, we're safeguarding public health, protecting the environment, growing the economy, and creating good jobs across the U.S., said New Mexico Governor Michelle Grisham, another alliance co-chair. Biden, in his remarks, called the new goal ambitious and said that it would lead to thousands of well-paying jobs, more affordable energy, cleaner air, cleaner water, and a healthier environment for all Americans. It's also creating real momentum because we're unleashing American ingenuity, innovation, and together we will turn this existential threat into a once-in-a-generation opportunity to transform our nation for decades to come. Well, unfortunately, Jack, you know what could have possibly generated this would have been declaring a climate emergency. Probably would have opened the floodgates to do what you claimed here. I know we can do this. The proposal would require sustained changes across the economy, from power generation to transportation, buildings, agriculture, and industry, including significant increases in renewable energy such as wind and solar, and steep cuts in emissions from fossil fuels such as oil and coal. So none of that is going to stay, to be honest. U.S. pledges. The U.S. pledge includes methane reduction from at least 35% from 2005 levels by 2035. Biden said cutting methane emissions is among the fastest way to reduce near-term warming and is crucial to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Debbie Weil, U.S. Acting Director of the World Resources Institute, a global research organization, said the new emission target is at the lower bound of what science demands, but it was close to the upper bound of what is realistic if nearly every available policy lever were pulled in the next decade. So, like, man, that's the nicest way of saying, like, yeah, bro, this is like the bare minimum, and like even then the bare minimum is like not enough That's just a nice way of saying it's not enough. The world was so happy during COVID without all that pollution. Yeah. The world was the world was very happy not having to deal with pollution. Assertive action by the states and cities will be essential to achieving this goal, she said, adding that the United States needs to swiftly expand renewable energy and electric vehicles, modernize the electric grid, and decarbonize heavy industry. I mean, like, decarbonizing is important. Emphasis on renewable energy is important. But I don't know. The non-binding but symbolic important pledge is a key part of the Paris Agreement, which calls for countries to submit the so-called nationally determined contribution every 5 years. A country's NDC, or climate goal, outlines how it plans to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to meet the global goal of limiting temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times. Yeah, I'm going to go out and continue to say that this is probably done. This is probably gone. The Paris Agreement requires that NDCs are updated every 5 years with increasingly higher ambitions, taking into consideration each country's capacity. The next deadline is February of 2025, although Brazil, the UK, and United Arab Emirates have already submitted their proposals. As the world's largest producer of oil, the largest producer and exporter of fossil gas, and the largest historical climate polluter, the United States has an outsized responsibility to press forward in the climate fight no matter the political headwinds, said Manish Bapna, the president and CEO of Natural Resource Defense Council, a leading environmental group. He called the new climate goal a clear signal for governors, mayors, and CEOs who support climate action to step up and defend climate progress. While the incoming administration has vowed to turn back its back on the world, again, the majority of Americans want climate action, and clean energy boom is unstoppable. I believe that. Yeah, we're number one, exactly. USA. Always got to be number one at everything. Bondzilla, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's 14 months. Thank you. I appreciate it. Remember how I was talking about how the Georgia case and the federal case were the most important to pay attention to when it came to what Donald Trump was facing? Well, Fani Willis has been disqualified from prosecuting Trump in the Georgia election case. The Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has been disqualified from prosecuting Trump over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in light of a relationship with the top deputy on the case. The Georgia Court of Appeals ruled on Thursday today. A 2-1 decision to remove Willis and overturn the ruling by the presiding judge that allowed her to remain on the case, as long as the deputy Nathan Wade resigned, likely signals the death knell for the final criminal case still active against Trump. After carefully considering the trial court's finding in its order, we conclude that it erred by failing to disqualify D.A. Willis and her office. Quote, said Judge Trenton Brown in the 31 page opinion. Quote, the remedy crafted by the trial court to prevent an ongoing appearance of impropriety did nothing to address the appearance of impropriety that existed at times when DA Willis was exercising her broad pretrial discretion about who to prosecute and what charges to bring. Quote, while we recognize that an appearance of impropriety is generally not enough to support disqualification, this is the rare case in which disqualification is mandated and no other remedy will suffice to restore the public confidence in integrity of these proceedings. That's freaking wild, man. That's freaking wild. She had plenty of time and failed. Yep. Hours after the decision, District Attorney's Office filed a notice announcing their intention to appeal the ruling to the Georgia Supreme Court. But Trump's return to the White House will cause the proceeding to be paused for the duration of his presidency, suggesting that the case may not continue in its current form. Trump was charged alongside more than a dozen associates last year with racketeering over his efforts to overturn the election. As part of the bid to dismiss the case, Trump and his co-defendants alleged Willis's relationship meant that she could be recused from the case. The initial effort to have Willis disqualified failed after the Fulton County Superior Court Judge McAfee decided, following days of contentious evidentiary hearings, that Trump and his co-defendants did not prove an actual conflict of interest. McAfee nonetheless ruled her relationship with Wade gave the appearance of a conflict which needed to be addressed. For Willis to continue bringing the case, Wade needed to resign from the district attorney's office. Wade resigned later that evening. Willis vehemently denied any wrongdoing when she testified at the evidentiary hearings last February, rebutting accusations that her relationship with Wade affected the charges and scope of the case, and insisting there was no conflict of interest. The district attorney testified that her relationship with Wade started months after she hired him to work on the case as a special prosecutor and ended in 2023, around the time that the grand jury in Atlanta returned the racketeering indictment against Trump. This is so absurd. Like, so this guy, I mean, like, aren't they just going to replace the DA? I guess, really, it would be up to the DA, right? Like, if she gets replaced, that's pretty much it, right? Or if she's forced to recuse herself. Willis also sought to undercut allegations that she had engaged in a sort of kickback scheme through Wade's hiring, where she benefited from his earnings as alleged by the defense lawyers for a co-defendant of Trump, Michael Roman. She testified that she reimbursed any expenses that he had incurred. The allegations first surfaced last January in a motion filed by Roman's lawyer, Alicia Merchant, who complained about a potential conflict of interest arising from what she described a self-dealing between Willis and Wade as a result of their unconfirmed romantic relationship. Roman's filings in essence accused Willis of engaging in a quasi-kickback scheme where Wade paid for joint vacations to Florida and California using earnings from more than $650,000 from working on the Trump case. The filing also alleged a relationship that started before he was hired. And so, like, man, this guy's going to end up skating on this too because of some absurd technicality. I mean, like, the guy really is Teflon Don, folks. I don't know what else to say. Like, we have a president who won the election, who in the prior election tried to steal the prior election, and now all these cases are just kind of like, they're just kind of falling apart because of absurd reasons. Phenomenal stuff. What a healthy democracy we have, where a person is allowed to steal an election and then participate in the electoral process afterwards. Okay, Kat. What? Come on. Yeah, amazing justice we have. Amazing justice system we have. Go on, Kat. Go on. Amazing justice system we have. So I'm honestly not sure what's going to happen with this case. I'm genuinely not sure. For all we know, like this is pretty much like GG. I just don't know. I guess when we know more, we know more. But like all these cases, for all intents and purposes, are kind of like just being put on a shelf. Because presidents are kings and apparently enjoy a broad immunity. Elon Musk flexes his political muscle, sending government on path to shutdown. Yes, a couple of tweets by Elmo. Basically, a couple of tweets by Elmo have sent the government towards a possible shutdown. The richest man in the world calling the shots now, so that's cool. That's very, very that you know when I think of a healthy democracy and when I think of functioning governmental institutions, I think the world's richest man tweeting something and then the lawmakers do that. So that's phenomenal stuff happening here, folks. During the During the Army-Navy football game over the weekend, Elon Musk posted a photo of the giant screen perch over the field, showing four faces in focus: President-elect Trump, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, and Musk towards the camera. In the background, looking down as House Speaker Mike Johnson. The symbolism of such image and Musk posting it is hard to miss. Musk stands directly behind Trump and Vance, more prominently than the Speaker, who's third in line to the presidency. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, that tracks. A few days later, Musk would make perhaps his most impactful flex of the newfound political power, helping to torpedo a spending bill put forth by Johnson with bipartisan support to fund the government and avoid a shutdown as soon as Friday evening. While some conservatives were already skeptical of the continuing resolution even before it was officially published, Musk and his co-department of government efficiency leader Vivek Ramaswamy suddenly began blasting the bill online Wednesday, rallying up their tens of millions of supporters with posts stoking outrage about the contents. Quote, "This bill should not pass," Musk wrote at 4:15 Eastern Time, kicking off what would be a blizzard of posts about the legislation. It was only a matter of time before the bill died. So, like, yeah, man, that's cool. That's very, very cool. Richest man on the planet post tweets and then like that legislation gets killed. So like I don't know. That's cool. But Trump, I mean, same difference really. Musk's unprecedented online influence seemed to fully torpedo the spending bill in a way no Republican lawmaker could have done from inside the Capitol Hill. Those familiar with Washington know that such massive spending bills are often chock full of add-ons in addition to necessary spending to keep the government open. Punchbowl calls it overstuffed. Others have likened it to a Christmas tree full of ornaments. But Musk has always prided himself on doing things differently, ignoring the rules, written or not, and breaking the mold for better or worse. I mean, dude, what is this? What is this editorializing? Dude, he's a freaking asshole. That's what he is. And he has all the money in the world and is using it to influence government. So like that's the story here, really. Yeah, I'm not worried at all, are you? Nah, not one bit. What? The richest man in the world calling the shots? Musk railed against the elements of the bill, though some complaints were outright false and other amplifications of anonymous X accounts with seemingly no fact checks. Phenomenal world we live in. Musk also used his platform to push for a government shutdown, arguing it would not hurt critical functions, which, quote, partially is true, but shutdown does cost the economy billions of dollars, and there are millions of federal employees who would not be paid while the government is shut down during the holidays. Just like Musk likes it, actually, making sure that employees are not paid. So that's cool, and doing it specifically during the holidays, too. I mean, like, that's... That's too on the nose, huh? Oh my God. Since Musk began showing up on Trump's side, memes of President Musk have been flourishing online, and furious Democrats are starting to question whether Musk is a shadow president. Well, furious Democrats, what are you going to freaking do about it? You kind of blew it from the get-go because Trump won. It's clear who's in charge, and it's not President-elect Trump. The Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal, shadow President Elon Musk, spent all day railing against Republicans' continuing resolution, succeeding in killing the bill, and then Trump decided to follow his lead. Bernie Sanders, the Vermont independent, echoed her sentiment. Quote, Democrats and Republicans spent months negotiating a bipartisan agreement to fund our government. The richest man on earth, President Elon Musk, doesn't like it. Musk, the tech billionaire who has never been elected to office, has said that it's not the Republicans who are giving him power, it's the, quote, people. No, bro. Dude. This is like some 1984 stuff, man. Quote, all I can do is bring attention of the people so that they may voice their support if they so choose, which he wrote on his own platform. But now some Republicans are suggesting making Musk's power official, going beyond the self-proclaimed first buddy title. Quote, the Speaker of the House needs not to be a member of Congress, Senator Rand Paul tweeted on X. Nothing would disrupt the swamp more than electing Elon Musk. Think about it. Nothing's impossible, not to mention the joy at seeing the collective establishment, aka the Uniparty, lose their ever-loving minds. So first of all, Rand Paul is a freaking clown. Second of all, putting Elon Musk as the House Speaker is absurd. Third of all, he's not anti-establishment at all. He's not anti-establishment at all. Elon Musk is the richest person in the world. That's about as establishment as it gets. He's an oligarch. He already runs Congress. Yeah, I mean, but why? Yeah, that's actually a good point. Why would Elon Musk want to be Speaker of the House when he just buys Congress, right? Like, he just tweets and Congress does what he wants. Like, he doesn't need to be Speaker of the House. Not really. Marjorie Taylor Greene joined in, writing she'd be open to supporting Musk as Speaker. Doge can only be truly accomplished by reigning in Congress to enact real government efficiency, which hey, as it turns out, Congress can do that. It doesn't need Doge to do this. We have an office of budget or whatever. Anyways. The establishment, again, needs to be shattered just like it was yesterday. This could be the way. Again, this is why, this is why right-wing populism isn't real. Right-wing populism isn't a thing. It's not a thing. It's just fascism. Because, they're trying to what's the term? They're trying to... And I know this term, not water, but they're trying to weave in fascism by claiming that it's some kind of anti-establishment thing, when in reality it's literally just oligarchs. Elon Musk is the richest man on the planet. Okay, that is not anti-establishment. The word escapes me, but yeah, it'll come to me. Not shoehorning. It's to what's the term? Inject. Anyways. There's no indication that Musk is seriously suggesting to become Speaker of the House, considering most multiple businesses that require his attention. Question mark? Bro's sitting there tweeting all day. Come on. The wedge? No. Launder. Okay, thank you, Joey John. Okay, that fired my synapses here. This is exactly why the right-wing populism is not a thing. It doesn't exist. It's fascism. It's to launder fascism, because no better example of how this is BS than this, right? Like, to claim that Elon Musk would be an anti-establishment pick is just so egregiously like obvious that that's not the case. The purpose of pretending to be some kind of right-wing populist, it just doesn't exist. But the point of trying to present yourself like some kind of anti-establishment right-wing populist is to launder fascism. That's what it is. That's how fascism works. Pretending to be anti-establishment while laundering fascism. There's no indication that Musk is seriously suggesting becoming speaker, considering his multiple businesses that require his attention. No, I'm gonna call cap on that because he's got clearly enough time to be tweeting incessantly. So yeah. Plus, taking on the role would take time away from his ultimate goal, colonizing Mars. I don't know if this is supposed to be sarcastic or not, but I'm just gonna for my sanity. For my sanity, I'm just going to pretend that's sarcasm. For the sake of my sanity, I'm gonna assume that last paragraph is sarcasm. Musk's real foray into affecting a major piece of legislation now seems to portend what is to come, a prospect that is either terrifying or exhilarating to those in Washington. It should only be terrifying. Because like why is the richest person on the planet calling shots? Like that should be only terrifying. Sure, yeah, listen, for my sanity, okay? That's oh man, that's sarcasm. Okay, I'm gonna read it in sarcasm. Whitewash. No, the term I was looking for was to launder. For some reason, Wedge fired my made the connection somehow in some way. I don't know. It's weird, but it worked. Thank you. I don't know how. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it did. Anyways. So what actually happens, as a brief reminder, closures, social security checks, and furloughs, what a government shutdown might mean, assuming that they don't do some last second continuing resolution. Congress has until midnight tomorrow to come up with a way to fund the government, or federal agencies will shut down, meaning hundreds of thousands of federal employees could be sent home or stay on the job without pay just ahead of the holidays. Republicans abandoned a bipartisan plan on Wednesday to prevent a shutdown after President-elect Elon Musk came out against it. Trump told House Speaker Mike Johnson to essentially renegotiate the deal days before a deadline when the federal funding runs out. A government shutdown happens when Congress doesn't pass legislation either temporarily or more permanently funding the government, and such a measure isn't signed by the president. If Congress doesn't approve a continuing resolution or more permanent spending measure by Friday, the federal government will shut down. When the fiscal year ended in September 30th, Congress passed a temporary funding bill to keep the government in operation. That measure expires on Friday. Federal agencies, so which government agencies would be affected? Federal agencies determine its own plan how to handle a shutdown, but basically any government operation deemed non-essential stops happening, and hundreds of thousands of federal employees see their work disrupted. Sometimes workers are furloughed, meaning that they keep their jobs or temporarily don't work until the government reopens. Other federal workers may stay on the job but without pay, with the expectation that they would be paid back in full once the government reopens. The basic rule for who works and who doesn't dates back to the 1980s and haven't been significantly modified since, under a precedent-setting memorandum penned by then-President Ronald Reagan. Budget Chief Staff David Stockman. Federal workers are exempted from furloughs if their jobs are national security related or if they perform essential activities that protect life and property. Essential government agencies like the FBI, Border Patrol, and Coast Guard remain open. Transportation security, TSA would continue to staff airport checkpoints. The USPS will also not be affected because it's an independent agency. The national parks and monuments would close, and while troops would stay at their posts, many civilian employees in agencies like Department of Defense would be sent home. Court systems would be affected too, while civil proceedings paused while criminal prosecutions continue. Automated tax collections would stay on track, but the IRS would stop auditing tax returns. Will the government shutdown affect Social Security checks? No. Recipients of both Social Security and Medicare will continue to receive benefits which are part of mandatory spending that are not subject to annual appropriation measures. Doctors and hospitals will also continue to get their Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements, but it's possible that new applications would not be processed. During a government shutdown in 1996, thousands of Medicare applicants were turned away daily. What's a continuing resolution? Yada, yada, yada. We know that an omnibus bill is the bill that was rejected. Is the government shutdown going to happen? Maybe and maybe not. Possibly. We don't know. I guess really it's up to President Elmo. Really it's up to President Elmo and Congress to see if the government is actually going to shut down or not. This happens quite frequently in this dysfunctional era of politics, and we've come pretty close several times to a government shutdown. We've covered some of them, and at all times, they always seem to pull out some kind of continuing continuing resolution at the last second. Will it happen this time? I don't know. I'm actually not sure. I don't know how Elmo is going to react. I really don't. I don't know. All right, folks, it is about 7 o'clock, so it's time for me to get going and get some food and prepare for tomorrow. Man, tomorrow's going to be very cold for us anyways. Oh, hey, come back. Whew, I almost messed that up. Tomorrow, it's going to be very, very, very cold, so I got to get ready. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you for your support. You guys are what makes this channel grow. We got about 6 inches of snow today. No, it's not. It's not 6 inches of snow cold, but it's cold for us. It's cold for us. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you want to continue to support the channel, there are many different ways of supporting the channel. Keep liking the stream, folks. Thank you. For the folks on YouTube, thank you for liking the stream. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Consider checking out the merch store and the Substack. Join the Discord, folks, this Saturday at about 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be streaming the documentary Sicko. And I think it's a pretty a must-see given what's been going on. So if you haven't seen it already and you want to join us on that, you can go to the Discord 6 p.m. Eastern Time this Saturday. We're taking a snow day tomorrow. Got a saucer sled and everything. Nice. Thank you. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you, Mouselander. Thank you, Heat and Michael Hasser, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the subscriptions. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Again, we'll be back on not this Monday. We're gonna be back, I guess, Tuesday. Tuesday's tentative. So we'll be back next week. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it. You guys are what makes this channel grow. As always, folks, spread the word far and wide. We are one of the chillest places to be for the news and politics. I appreciate it. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Viana, hope to see you guys in the next one. Stay tuned on the Discord, folks. The best way to keep up with the channel. See ya. Hang tight, folks. All right, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.